Cleansing purity. G'day, I'm Samuel Gittins from Warhat Prezi, and thank you for joining me as we consider God's Word from the book of Mark. All right, let me read to you Mark chapter 1, verses 40 to 45. Then a man with leprosy came to him and, on his knees, begged him, "If you are willing, you can make me clean." Moved with compassion, Jesus reached out his hand and touched him. "I am willing," he told him. "Be made clean." Immediately, the leprosy left him and he was made clean. Then he sternly warned him and sent him away at once, telling him, "See that you say nothing to anyone, but go and show yourself to the priest and offer what Moses commanded for your cleansing as a testimony to them." Yet he went out and began to proclaim it wildly and just spread the news, with the result that Jesus could no longer enter a town openly. But he was out in deserted places, and they came to him from everywhere. Now, my grandfather and mother were captains in the salvos for most of their life, and it took some very tight-fisted management to save up for their retirement house. My first memory of visiting their new home was a mild panic that seemed to come out of my parents as the front door opened. Cream-coloured carpet. Now, I have nothing against white. It's just that it so easily isn't. White, that is. Dirt, it rubs off. We know it, whether it's by the shoes we wear or by association with the wrong person, association with the wrong organisation. Perhaps even in our work culture, we can become socially unclean by association with views that offend social progressive sensitivities. It's easy to become unclean. Nothing's ever really new, I'm afraid. Anyway, we all know that dirt sticks. It rubs off. And in Mark chapter 1, verse 40, Jesus is confronted by someone whose very presence represents all that is unclean. From verse 40, "Then a man with leprosy came to him and on his knees begged him, 'If you are willing, you can make me clean.'" Man, this guy's life was a mess. When you had leprosy, you were excluded from life in a community. You couldn't go downtown, you couldn't go to the shops, you couldn't go to the cinemas, you couldn't buy your groceries, you couldn't go to school, you couldn't do anything. You were totally isolated. In fact, if you had to go downtown, you had to go at a time when the crowds weren't big, and you would have to dress in rags, and you would have to ring a bell. And you'd have to cry out as you walk along, "Unclean! Unclean!" And people would scatter before you and they'd pick up rocks. Because if you approached them, they were allowed to stone you. You were filthy. You were contagious. You were symbolic of all that was wrong in this world. If you had leprosy, you were seen as cursed by God. You were filth. You were excluded, you were rejected, and not only were you suffering the grief of your own body, rotting on yourself, you suffered the rejection of everyone else. Indeed, all you had to wait for, all you had to look forward to, was a life of rejection until your disease killed you. And he says to Jesus, "If you are willing." Now, normally, when we face something unclean, we turn away. We shun the unclean. We don't want what they have rubbing off on us. The socially awkward at the social function. "Oh, not them." We find an excuse not to chat with them, or we quickly dismiss ourselves to be somewhere else. We don't want to be seen talking to them. We don't want to have to use the mental and emotional energy required to talk to them. We shun them. Or perhaps it's that work colleague we avoid at lunch. He's going to talk about that again. I just couldn't be bothered. Or the person that everyone knows has a different view. It's not popular at the moment. And we want to be on the good crowd at school. Or this leper, his very life is a symbol of uncleanness, of being rejected, of being socially filthy. And it's this man who asks Jesus, the rabbi, the teacher, the religious leader, the pure, the powerful, "If you are willing, you can heal me and make me clean. Now, what's a normal reaction? What would a normal, sensible, religious teacher of the day say? Get away from me, you filth. Don't you know I'm a holy man of God? Don't you know I work hard to teach the people about what is good and true, and you are filth. Or maybe wants to keep appearances, and he's a bit more appropriate. Oh, I'd love to help you. God bless you. Just stay back. It's okay. God bless you. I'll send you a donation. No, that's not what Jesus does. Verse 41, what does it say? Moved with compassion. Jesus, he reaches out his hand and touched him. He touched him. Now remember, dirt rubs off. You wear a face mask if you're with someone who's got COVID. You don't give them a hug and give them a kiss. You don't touch them. You avoid them. They're socially isolated. We exclude them. We put them in isolation for 2 weeks. This guy has leprosy. And Jesus, the first thing he does, he is moved with compassion. He reaches out his hand and touches him. I am willing, he told him, be made clean. We've got to notice a few things here. Jesus' heart is not like our sinful, rebellious heart. His heart is for the unclean. He is for the outcast. He is for the broken. Jesus is moved with compassion, and then he touches the man. And what has this man gone without for so many years? However long this guy's been diseased for, he has gone without the affectionate touch of another human. And in his touch, Jesus' words affirm what his actions so clearly proclaim. I am willing, be made clean. Verse 42, immediately the leprosy left him and he was made clean. Jesus, the pure, the holy, the religious teacher, the Son of God, God's saving King, is not made unclean by this man's leprosy, but his purity cleanses this man. That's like white carpet cleaning my work boots. It's unheard of. But Jesus' purity cleanses this man. Now, of course, we could simply see this miracle of Jesus and be impressed or not. So what? Jesus heals a man all those years ago. What relevance does that have for me? But we're not meant to finish there. Remember, Mark is writing this account of Jesus' life to challenge us, to push us into asking ourselves, who is this man? Who is this Jesus whose purity is not threatened by other people's filth, but can actually cleanse other people of their filth? You see, there's no greater symbol of impurity than the disease of leprosy. It was symbolic of all that is wrong with this world, the fact that we are beautiful, creative, intelligent creatures. We are made to bear God's image, and yet we hurt the ones we love. We turn away from the vulnerable, the weak. We see corruption in our world. We see people who should love each other hurt each other. We're so clever at building things, and yet not only can we make bridges, we make bombs. We are a broken, messy people, and Jesus came into this world, and leprosy is a picture of all that mess in this world. And in healing with this man with a touch, Jesus is demonstrating that not only can he clean our skin, that wasn't the biggest issue, that he can clean this leper's skin, but he can clean from the dirt and filth which keeps us far from God. Jesus, he knows our past. He sees the dirt gathered in the corners of a lifetime. And the question is, will we speak the words of the leper and say to Jesus, if you are willing, you can heal me and make me clean. Jesus, you alone can wipe away the stain of my guilt. Please make me clean. And if we ask this of Jesus, we already know his answer. It's the same answer he gave to that desperate man. Jesus will say to us, he will reach out and take a hold of us and say to us, I am willing, be made clean.